Okay. All right. So yesterday we did the first halacha and we started analyzing it, but did not finish. So let's review what we did yesterday. And then I got a couple more steps. Chayavim anu, this is in Matnos name Yud Aleph. Chayavim anu lihizar b'mitzvos tzedakah yeser mikol mitzvos to say. We are obligated to be careful with mitzvos tzedakah more than all the other mitzvos to say. Tzedakah siman l'tzadiki zera Avraham Avinu, because tzedakah is a sign of the righteous offspring of Avraham Avinu. As it says, Ki yadati l'man asher yitzaveh as banav as beso akrav v'shamru derech ad Hashem la'asos tzedakah mishpat l'man havi ad Hashem al Avram eis asher diber alav. Because it says that for I have known him, which means I was mashgiach on him, on Avraham, that's Hashem talking, in order that he command his children and his household after him and keep the path of Hashem, the way of Hashem, to do tzedakah and mishpat, in order that Hashem will bring upon Avraham that which he spoke about him. So that's clause number one. Number two, being Kisa Yisrael miskonin v'das emes omedes el b'tzedakah. The throne of Israel and the religion, the true religion, is not established. The throne of Israel is not established, and the true religion does not stand except through tzedakah. Shneimar says b'tzedakah tikunani. Through tzedakah you are established. And that's number two. And then number three, v'ein Israel nigalin ela b'zechus ha-tzedakah. Israel is only redeemed through the zechus of tzedakah. Shneimar Tzion b'mishpat tipkadeh. Zion will be redeemed through justice, and its returnees through tzedakah. So help me reconstruct what we said yesterday. I'll tell you what I remember. So we said, what does it mean that it's a siman of the tzaddik zera Avraham? So we said that there's basically two kinds of mitzvos in the Torah. There are mitzvos that are, so to speak, chidushim of the Torah, that are like sukkah or like tefillin, which or lulav, was the example yesterday, that are there to serve the values that Avraham stood for, but they are not intrinsically they're not intrinsically stemming from those values. Whereas there are other mitzvahs like tzedakah, where it is a value of Avraham Avinu per se, just in mitzvah form. So that's what it means that it's a siman for tzadikei zera Avraham, that if you see someone if you see someone who is zahir in mitzvah tzedakah, then a Jew, then that is stemming from the fact that those values from Avraham made their way down through this person. And you see them not being careful with it, which I think he's going to call out later on in a different halacha, then that's like then you actually call into suspect his Hilchos, okay, which he hasn't said yet. Okay, fine. So that's what we said for that. And we raised the question of how can you say that you should be careful with this more than other mitzvahs to say. And you said, Chaim, that with, what about Talmud Torah, that's connected to mitzvahs. So just now, like the second, I didn't even look at it, I just saw it in the Kafach. There is a statement in the Gemara, which Kafach says is the source of the Rambam's thing, that says, V'amar Rav Asi shkula tzedakah connected kol mitzvahs. Okay, Shneamar v'hamidenu alav mitzvahs. V'chule, Hamadenu Aleno, mitzvos. We're going to mitzvah inksiv ella kan el mitzvos. What's the is there a Rashi on this? Again, I just saw this like literally right as you were walking down the stairs. So I don't know. But it is interesting the Rambam does not bring that down. Let's look at Keneged. Yeah, let's see if just Meiri says mitzvah tzedakah gedola adam od ein lachad mitzvah to say ruya lihizdaris ba yoser mimena. Okay, similar lashon. Lihizdaris ba makes a lot more sense to me because that's lashon aseh. You should be zaris in it, not be careful with it. Be careful. It seems to be more with the los aseh. Even though I know we just saw with the Hanukkah, near Hanukkah, whatever. V'hu simin lezer Avram shemar bo kiyadati v'leman sheri tavis banav espeso Avram shamar derech Hashem lasas tzedakah mishpat v'kulei derech ha'ara amru sheshkula hi connected kol mitzvos. So they said derech ha'ara, like as an idea, that this is equal to all the other mitzvahs. I gotta look at how you read this pasuk. Copy and paste and search and find. Okay, Nehemiah. Okay, now wouldn't guess that. The emadnu alenu mitzvos. La seis alinu shlishi shekel bashana la avodas beis elokina. That's a weird one. Let me just look at the translation. Make sure I get the ha'amadenu. I'm not familiar with that lashon. I would guess it's he imposed upon us. Yeah, like or he set up on us.
Yeah. Set up this kind of.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if we're right. 1033 is. Oh no, he's describing what we did. We also instituted commandments upon ourselves to give 1/3 of a shekel yearly towards the service of the temple of our God. And it says the drasha is mitzvos, not mitzvah. So you see from there that it's equating one mitzvah of tzedakah, which is a shlishi shekel, which is the minimum number for tzedakah, right? And it's calling it mitzvos, and so that's an allusion to kol mitzvos. That's how the Meiri is explaining it. V'chein dimu, v'chein, I don't know. It's damo hama'alim. Oh, dimud. No, it is dimud. Dimud hamalim ayin mimena la'oved avodah zarah. They compare one who hides his eye from tzedakah to someone who's worshiping avodah zarah. I quoted that. I didn't know I was quoting, but I quoted that in my Sunday shiur. The guy who fell off the ladder and then almost got like a skila, and he looked through his actions and said, I didn't do anything with skila. And then one of his students said, if you avoided giving tzedakah, that's comparable to oved avodah zarah. So I guess that's what he was quoting. Yeah, I'm not going to read through the whole Meiri here. Okay, so that's just something we can take into account here. I don't know if that is the Rambam source, but that's what Kafik thinks. Okay, and then one more thing I found, and then one more idea I have, and then we'll see what we can figure out. I know I'm skipping here, but I was looking into this pasuk in Yeshayahu of Tiyum b'mishpat tibedeh, and the Mahari says half of what I said, but then he takes the other half further. So I said that this is clearly not talking about the ma'aseh of tzedakah in terms of just giving money, right? So he says this really interesting thing. Okay, so tziyun b'mishpat tipadeh, the mishpat shiaseh ba, through the mishpat that is done in it, tipadeh will be redeemed. So in other words, when tziyun implements mishpat, okay, in its midst, not like I've heard that this is, you know, the Shinu in Nuschos about the Ubnei Yerushalayim, Hashem Bunei Barachma of Yerushalayim or Bonei Yerushalayim. Yeah. So I've heard that the machlokes comes down to the fact that there's two psukim, one that says something about Tzion being redeemed in Rachmim, and the other one says it's redeemed in Mishpat. And I've heard that that's the source for this. I haven't looked it up recently, but he's not learning it that way. He's not learning that we will be redeemed through justice, meaning like in accordance with Midas Hadin, we will be redeemed. He's saying through the zuchus of doing mishpat. Okay, but then here's the cool part. Not that mishpat is not cool. The shaveh tzedakah him osan sheyashuv el Tzion. So shaveh, its returnees are the ones who return to Tzion. Min hamakomos asher navotu sham, from the places that they're scattered. Be'ezeh zuchus hagalios miskabetzos v'chozros l'Tzion. Through what merit are the exiles going to be gathered in and returned to Zion? Bishvil ha'emes v'hatzedek sheyashuva lios anshe emes v'tzedakah. Through the emes and tzedek, that they return to become men of truth and righteousness. V'da sheb'chol makom shetimtza tzedakah eitzel mishpat. Anytime you find tzedakah next to mishpat, osa tzedakah ena nesinas ma'os. That tzedakah is not referring to giving money. Ela lashon din emes. It's talking about a din emes, and then I couldn't figure out what this word is in whatever language it is. Draitora. I don't know where Maori cross from in laws. I don't know what laws it is, and I couldn't associate to English word that sounds like it. So
you check laws.
I didn't check. I didn't check. Yeah. Torah. Yeah, I don't know. Is that only for Rashi?
Laws.
Right, sure. I can look it up.
For Torah.
Okay, so we'll hope that someone else uses the similar term. Or I mean whatever. I'm not seeing it. Yeah. All right. I'll have to ask online. Okay, fine. So then he says, "V'chein lasos tzedakah mishpat, v'chein vayhi David ose mishpat u'tzedakah l'chol amo, v'chein mishpat v'tzedek tireh b'medina, v'chein kulam." And then he says this really tantalizingly anger-provoking phrase, "U'miyutan shekasati l'cha yoru al ruban." So, okay, well, that's not the part that angers me. I'll tell you what angers me in a second. It says the few examples that I mentioned will indicate all of them, right? Like we'll teach you about all of them. What angers me is so frustrating when there's like a key thing like this and it's like buried away in a comment in Yeshayahu, you know, like I wish that there were, you know, like, I guess this is what Torah's time is for in the footnotes. I don't know why I'm pointing that way. There's no Torah's time there, but I guess through the wall there is. Yeah. All right. My finger was finding the way. The Torah's time is really good at like culling all the important sources, but like, this is on the concept of like when it says tzedakah and mishpat together, and he doesn't. Here's what bothers me. He doesn't say this on his commentary on Bereshis on the pasuk that we read, lasos tzedakah mishpat. He only says it here. And then another thing, by the way, which I think is even better. I don't know exactly what this is, but it's a very al Torah type thing. It's Rav Yosef Kara al Hagahos al Rashi. So Rashi here says, "B'mishpat tipadeh aydei shihu ba osei mishpat." Through the fact that they do mishpat, tipadeh, it will be redeemed avonoseha. V'shaveha, those who return, osei teshuva shebasocha, the ones who do teshuva in it. Then the Mahar, I guess this is Mahari writing of gloss on Rashi. He says, "V'shaveha b'tzedakah b'matzdike atman." Those who make themselves righteous is what it is referring to. So it is also talking about midos of tzedakah. And those are all the manuscripts it comes from. Yeah. Okay. So that's another clue. So I don't think that drastically changes everything, but it does verify what my assumption was, that this is not. So it's not just talking about money. It's not just talking about doing tzedakah. It's talking about embodying tzedakah, which really fits in with the Zera Avraham thing. Okay. And tzadike is Zera Avraham, right? That's why we call it tzaddik. Okay. One more step I took, which and this is all I got. Ein kisei Yisrael miskonin v'das emes omeda. So I was trying to think, what do we mean by kisei versus das? And both of them are lashon of standing and through tzedakah. So any intuitions on that? In kisei Yisrael miskonin v'das emes omedas ela b'tzedakah.
Is like why specifically Yisrael?
No, why specifically kisei and das emes? Like what are those two? What's that duo? And why only through tzedakah? Throne, yeah. So just throw this out there here. So, we are familiar with Judaism only really as a das emes, right? Because that's the only entity that exists right now. But we know that Torah is also a, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, it's a monarchy, but with the word I'm looking for is a political entity, right? It's a political entity. So it's a political entity and a religion and a ethical entity, right? So politics and ethics. So what this is saying is that tzedakah, that, you have other thrones, for example, that persist through other means. For example, you can have a monarchy that persists through tyranny and power and gathering resources or whatever. Malchus Yisrael cannot last from that. Malchus Yisrael is established on tzedakah, and without tzedakah, it won't last. Now, whether you understand that mishleically / tehillimly or hashgachically, you can't have the Malchus that last without tzedakah, and that's why Bais Rishon was destroyed, according to the Nevi'im, for refusals to do tzedakah and mishpat, like all throughout the thing. That was the thing that did them in, and then the das ha'emes. What I was thinking of here, and this is a little sketchy, okay, but I associated to the second Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. It's sketchy just because I don't know if I'm just projecting here, but I'll read the association. In chapter 1, Mishnah 2, Shimon HaTzadik haya mi-shiur amshekena sagdola hu haya omer al shlosha devarim ha'olam omeid. So on three things, the world stands. Al HaTorah, great website. Al HaVoda, Val Gemus Chasadim. Okay, so the Rambam says. So the Rambam's interpretation of that. I mean, everyone quotes that, but people don't really explain it. Al Torah v'Avodah v'Gemus Chasadim. It's a weird statement. Yeah. I also did that, so I had to look it up. Okay, so it says Amar ki b'mada v'hi haTorah. So he learns Torah as all knowledge. Okay, uva ma'alos hamidosios, and on ethical virtues v'him Gemilus Chasadim. Okay, that's Gemilus Chasadim. Ubekium mitzvos haTorah v'him hakorbanos. So those are the three categories. So in other words, he's saying that those three are really just like prime specimens of a larger category. So when it says Torah is like the best knowledge, but it's really talking about all knowledge. Gemilus Chasadim is like top sign of midos, but it's talking about all midos. And korbanos are like a paradigm of avoda, and that's talking about avoda of mitzvos. And in ha'olam omeid is hasmadas tekinus ha'olam usidirus mitziuso al ha'ofen hayoser shalim, is the perpetual correctness of the world or establishment of the world and the order of its existence in the best way. Okay, so what I was wondering is this could mean that also, which is that you don't like theoretically you can have a functioning. I'm just going to say this. I don't know if it's true or not. You can have a functioning like American government without having all the people involved in tzedakah. All right, like America is not set up for tzedakah, whatever, but you can't have the Kisei Yisrael as a political entity or the Das Emes in terms of achieving its goals without tzedakah as a foundational like characteristic. Yeah.
Because as they say, imagine like Sodmer, imagine that function without the financial network and tzedakah it has. It could be like say non-chassid groups where their trophies are basically non-functional.
So are you talking about tzedakah like literally like the revenue from tzedakah?
I guess in terms of revenue from tzedakah and that being the basis of the community structure. I guess is
yeah, so that's not how I'm learning it. Yeah, I mean, I that might be true what you're saying. I'm learning it though that as I'm basically getting this from the first statement and the third statement. Those sound like values of tzedakah in terms of the people, not like not as like a practical thing.
Well, the value has to be through into the practical, right?
In some sense, it has to be. But what did you have in mind?
Meaning, I'm just saying, just to maybe play devil's advocate for Yosef, right? If you have the value, but it doesn't bleed, like it's like.
Yeah. In that sense, yeah. Meaning, if the value doesn't manifest itself in action, then it's not going to work. Yeah, like correct. Anyway. Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay. So if we have any more ideas, we can always return to this. But at least we examined it and did our due diligence. All right. So plan next week is to continue on. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, due diligence.